Anu Bhadra Kartabo Yantu Vishwataha. Let noble thoughts come to us from every side. Welcome to perhaps the most talked about and prestigious memorial lecture at Vivekananda Hall, Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture. We are very glad to inform you that this year's Surrendra Lecture 2021 will be delivered by Mr. Ambarish Dasgupta, an alumnus of Ramakrishna Mission, Narendrapur, a seasoned management consultant and ex-chairman of Bengal Chamber of Commerce between 2015 and 2016. He is presently member of the State Public Policy and Strategy Planning Board, Government of West Bengal, and principal advisor to West Bengal IT Department. We have also on the dais revered Srimad Swami Suparnanandaji Maharaj, Secretary of the Institute. May I now request him to deliver a welcome address along with introductory words.
Om Jananing Sharadang Deving Ramakrishnang Jagat Gurum Pada Padmetayo Sritva Pranamami Muhurmu. My dear Ambarish Dasgupta, once he was our student, once a student, always a student. That's why I am very much glad that he has accepted our invitation and agreed to speak on a theme which he likes the most and I too. As you know, he is a management consultant, an ex-chairman of Bengal Chamber of Commerce, 2015 and 16, and member of the State Public Policy and Strategy Planning Board, Government of West Bengal, and principal advisor to West Bengal IT Department. So he has excelled in so many subjects and areas of human knowledge. I didn't know, perhaps, even when I decided to invite him to speak. It is so because I was ignorant about his achievements. While student, he was really a very noticeable boy, like a bullet, like an atom bomb, I used to call him. You have expressed out of yourself so many qualities of head and heart. He's one of the best products of Narendrapur, mind that. He did his Madhyamik from the school and then HS in the college. And I came to know him more when he was our student at the college. I welcome him very much. I welcome Mr. Karan Pal, son and chairman, APG Surrendra Group. He read out the brief history of his father, Surrendranath Pal, whom we lost in an accident, unfortunately. And I especially remember with gratitude the very idea of the Paul family, APJ family, of introducing or instituting a foundation for perpetuating the memory of Surrendra Paul. As the anchor, Sri Shakti Prasad Mishra, you all know him very well. Already announced that this is the most prestigious memorial lecture. We deem it. And we also hold it very ceremoniously. But this year, due to COVID-19, we have to arrange it online and offline. So I welcome all the online viewers and also a few listeners in the hall itself. I welcome Mr. Surrendra Paul online. We expected that he would be available here on the dais with his wife and his wife, Indrani. Mrs. Indrani was to have given the vote of thanks, but suddenly we came to know she has also fallen sick. So I pray to the Almighty for speedy recovery. So the anchor, Sri Shaktiprasad Mishra, has given me a scope even to say a few words as an introduction to the topic Vision of a New India. I do not know what is in his mind, Ambarish's mind, about the vision, new vision of India. India must emerge into a big nation. Still there is time. There may be all bleak around, but it would also, we feel it would pass on and we will be having a greater India, greater than she was before, as Swamiji dreamt of. This is my vision. This is my vision. I may well imagine that Speaker Dr. Sri Ambarish might be thinking of saying, by categorically and systematically arranging the desiderata of the development variables, but for a viable presentation of the vision of a new India, we need to tap into the democratic spirit, free from traditional tenacity of feudal minds, and also of the freedom from the oppressive class structure of the capitalist society. We have to largely depend on divinity of man, properly justified by Swamiji. This is a positive theology of human nature. And the other one is the harmony of religions. And the concept human unity derived from the divinity of all life of Vedanta is applied to develop society through Seva Yoga, serving all in the spirit of service. Social equity or social equality is the most wanted and promising outcome. It would solve many a problem, I feel so. We humans are one undivided whole. Our aspirations are one, enjoyments are one, sufferings are one. And with this new vision of life and God, both life and God, our individual life and God, we build up our civilization, our culture. Not only that, we survive and prepare ourselves with the best possible arms. What are these arms? Love, sympathy, service. To invade the world like Buddha and Ashoka, the like of which we saw in Chicago, Parliament of Religions. It is not the hard power of military affairs, but the power of love, culture, purity, and in fact the power of the spirit. It is the saddest story for all of us to swallow There is South Korea, Japan, Singapore, China came under the soft power index ranking, and we stand nowhere in spite of our rich heritage. We stood firm on our soft power. We stood firm on our soft power of love, while other countries were bent on inflicting others with swords. This is our past. The new India shall have to emerge out of chaos now, and we concentrate more on the power of love and mutual cooperation. We have rediscovered our past glory, and we have become once more. We have to become once more the queen of adoration of the world, as Swamiji hoped. It has to persist. We have none to be afraid of from either China or Pakistan. Curiously, in spite of the militant power, China has made a high rank in soft power index as well. Their people conquer the hearts of all in sports and games, and also through their graceful appearance. China has introduced reforms in education, social institutions, in technology, etc. So this is a pointer to us. Really, we have to learn a lot right now. We have to be on guard, not depending on militancy, but having deep faith in our past glory and have the strong will to introduce all these things at present. It is a very, very difficult task. Very, very difficult task, because we have to fight against the internal divisive forces. And there also, the idea of love, respect, mutual cooperation, this and that, will play a great role in bringing about the desirable changes in our society. We have to manage our home first and then look beyond. So what the new vision, what the vision of a new India has in his mind, Ambarish's mind, we are all eagerly awaiting that. With these observation, I just request Sri Shakti Prasad Mishra to take up the microphone.
May I now request Mr. Karan Pal, the illustrious son of Sri Surrendra Pal, who became a legend in his lifetime, to talk to us. and speak about his great father. Of course, he will do so online, on virtual mode. Mr. Karan Pal, please.
I hope my video is showing through and you can hear me. Hello? I hope I'm audible.
Yes,
sir.
very much.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, everyone, and I am so sorry to not be able to attend this event at the hallowed halls of the RK mission. Unfortunately, COVID has struck my family, so I'm unable to be there due to obviously the protocols. But Honorable Swami Suparananda, all the distinguished Swamijis and Secretary Ramakrishna Mission Institute of Culture, Mr. Ambarish Dasgupta, well-known and seasoned management consultant, member of the State Public Policy and Strategy Planning Board, Government of West Bengal, and Principal Advisor of West Bengal IT Department. Distinguished friends, colleagues, and everyone watching us today at the hall as well as on the net. I welcome you all to the 31st edition of the Surrendra Paul Lecture, created in 1991 in the loving memory of my father, Surrendra Paul, the erstwhile chairman of the APJ Surrendra Group. I am humbled and overjoyed to have this lecture as a tribute to my late father, a personality known for his vision and decisiveness, one who was as inspiring, energetic, hardworking, motivating, and full of zest of life as he was exacting and demanding as a leader. Under his chairmanship, the APJ Group saw a sea of changes. Companies expanded by leaps and bounds. Factories were modernized and equipped with state-of-the-art machinery to best optimize manufacturing. Hotels were started. His vision and forever optimistic attitude that made him one of India's most dynamic and respected industrialists. Surrendra Paul was born in 1935 in Jalandhar, attended Vincent High School in Missouri, went to America to start his studies in MIT, and joined the family business soon after. In 1982, he took over as chairman of the APJ Surrendra Group. He was always keen to promote India's ancient values amidst the clashing ideologies of the age. And as we step into a new India, I'm positive that we will remember Sri Ramakrishnan's quote, where he says, "The world is indeed a mixture of truth and make-believe. Discard the make-believe and take the truth, and implement that." In today's world where we are inundated with information, it is imperative that we seek out the truth to chart out our next course of action, which will keep us to stay true to ourselves and create a better environment and world. I would like to take this opportunity to applaud this extraordinary and hallowed institution, the Ramakrishna Mission, for helping us create this platform and make every year's discourse relevant and important. Lastly, on behalf of my family and the APJ Surrendra Group, thank you all for joining us today to honor my father, and I wish you all a very happy new year. Stay healthy and safe. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Paul. Now we are eagerly awaiting our great speaker's talk. And the topic is Vision of a New India. People say the 21st century offers a great opportunity to India. There are three things that are happening in the world today. The world is going digital, the world is going herbal, and the world by necessity is going spiritual. And India has the potentiality to reign supreme in all three spheres. But what awaits India? Let's hear from Mr. Ambarish Dasgupta, as has been described by Srimad Swami Suparananda Ji Maharaj, one of the perhaps the best product of Narendrapur, Sri Ambarish Dasgupta.
Good afternoon. My humble greetings to ladies and gentlemen who are all here today. Also, my very humble greetings to Mr. late Surrendra as well as his family. Firstly, I definitely start by paying homage to Ma, our Holy Mother, particularly in this occasion when we just had her Janmatithi. So with deference to her, I start my talk. I thank Shotoda and Ramakrishna Mission, of course. I have prayed to Ma always while in distress, and she has never failed to save me. Today possibly is another such day when I prayed adequately to Ma for helping me out in this distress of giving you an 1-hour lecture on India's vision. Hopefully, she will save me today as well. When I was in Narendra Ramakrishna Mission, Shotoda was there as the monk. Shotoda had various interesting forms of punishment. He never scolded. He never take recourse to any kind of physical punishments. His interesting forms of punishment was asking you to do something extempore. Just if you are unprepared, come and recite something. If you don't play football, go and play this match. If you don't know how to do a debate, go and do this. So that was his interesting form of punishment. So I was wondering, what have I done again at this age of 58 to again get Shotoda's punishment to be suddenly called for this lecture? But I don't know whether this is a punishment for me or punishment more for you, because you have to bear me for an hour. I remember a couple of years back, a gentleman whom I like very much, an economist, Dr. Kaushik Basu, he spoke here a few years back, I think before Corona. And he was referring to a book which I also read, his own book, to a poet called Mr. Philip Larkins, in a book called Paris Review. The gentleman, interestingly, for any boring poetry or boring speech, he mentioned that Philip Larkins, that it is always useful to read the speech or the poet or the poem than listening to the speaker or to the poet, because while reading you always know where the end is, but while speaking, while listening, you don't know how soon the end will come. I'm a consultant, a lifer consultant. I worked throughout my life in organizations like PricewaterhouseCoopers and KPMG. 24 years I've been there. I'm not an historian, nor a social scientist, nor a scientist, nor an expert in humanities, economist, political analyst, journalist. I'm just an ordinary citizen, a consultant. A consultant is always known for thoughts, but not having the ability to implement anything. So I'm similarly a consultant. So therefore, I may actually put some unstructured thoughts, not much premised on the past, just as a citizen, and I can do an utopian dreaming because I have no responsibility of implementing those visions. I'm not accountable for implementing those visions, so I can always do as an ordinary citizen an utopian dreaming. But then when the topic said it is New India, which of course has a kind of thought plugged into it or built into it, that why a new India? Why not the present India? So that means, is there something that we are not liking in the present India? Is there something that is vulnerable, weak, needs our criticism in the present India? And therefore we need to go to a new India? The point here is that if I don't like something in the present India, can I openly say such things that I don't like in the present India? Does the present system give me an amnesty to all kinds of criticisms that I may actually shower on the present India, and therefore I'm a vision for a new India? Now the India that I therefore dream is the India where before making a speech for a new India, I will not have that fear of whether I will be able to speak my heart out on the present India. So that is the first dream that I have for my new India, that give me that fearlessness. Now, you know Franklin Roosevelt, he once mentioned, I think in his inaugural speech, he mentioned that fear is the only fear that Americans should be having. Swamiji, of course, said that even not to fear a fear. He was ruthless about fear. But I'm an ordinary citizen. I do not have the courage either of Swamiji or of Roosevelt. So I need the political system and the society to give me that amnesty. Therefore, I have a dream that my new India will actually not instill any fear in me for saying anything. Problem for an unbridled vision at a time when I can really do a blue sky envisioning, I can have an unbridled vision of a future, when there are many problems in hand, is that your vision gets mired in solving the problems that we have in hand. It therefore can't be a very blue sky envisioning, that I just actually start imagining whatever I want to have, because I get too much saddled with the problems that we have in the hand, and therefore want our vision to basically take care of the issues that are at present in hand. Now the situation is that in India, we really have many such problems in hand right now. So therefore I don't know how much this visioning exercise could be very unbridled. Now how does one envision a country? How do we really create a vision for a country? We have a sectoral vision. Some people can create a vision for a manufacturing sector. Some people can create a vision for a political system, for an economic system. A sports person can create a vision for the sports future of India. A film person can create a future for the vision for the film world for India. Even somebody in agriculture can create. But how do we create a vision for an entire country? What should be a vision for an entire country? Now, we as a consultant, when we do such visioning for a company, when we are being invited to the board or by the management to do a visioning for the company, what we do, we create certain pillar on which the vision to rest. We actually identify certain 6, 7, 8, 9 dimensions on which the vision can actually rest. We also try to dispel subjectivity from that vision. We have a vision, then we create a mission, then we create certain goals, the performance indicator, how the implementation of that vision will be measured, what are the indicators by which we will keep on measuring that if my visions have been implemented. But fundamentally, at the end of whatever we do, we first or the last, we try to see if this vision is shared across everyone in the company. That's what we do when we actually trying to create a vision for a company. Question here is that when I try to do a vision for a country, how do I really make that vision an all-encompassing one? I got stuck on this shared concept. When Shotoda called me and gave me this opportunity, maybe 1.5 months back, to come and speak here on this topic, I spoke with many people of various states, caste, creed, ethnicity, gender, various economic strata. I spoke with many people to get their vision about the India. And believe me, I spoke with people in Bengal, in Kerala, in Maharashtra, in Uttar Pradesh, my colleagues, my friends, academicians, that what will be their thoughts about the vision of the country. So there were multi-ethnicity, multi-religion, multi-culture, multi-heritage, multi-ancestry, number of people. But I struggled to make them think of one India. They all had a vision about, a narrow vision, either about their locality, about their state, about their profession, about maybe their religion, about maybe something that they felt connected to. But I really did not find anybody getting very strongly connected to the country as a whole, excepting few things, cricket, any games, or suddenly some war being broken out against any particular country. Otherwise, there was not a very strong connectedness that I could see existing when I actually asked them that what will your India's vision be like. Interestingly, as we traverse down the economic slope, as we traverse down, as we start coming down, I figured out that the country concept more disappears. More I come down to the poorer people, more I come down to the subaltern type of people, it seems that they really have no country. There are many people whom I have spoken, because I do go to Birbhum a lot. I do go to the Birbhum site, to the very marginal localities of the Birbhum, and interact with very strongly marginalized people of that district, and likewise other districts also in other states as well. There are many people who don't even know what is a country, which country they actually belong to. They do not really and I cannot really ask them that what is your vision about India. So the first thing that I felt is that when 70% population of a country don't even have a vision about their own life, they don't even have a view about their own life, how they will actually have their life going. 70% to 80% of the people in this country, 140 crores of people, 20-30 crores may still be having the luxury of visioning something about a country which they feel they belong to. But 70-80% actually they cannot really connect to a country, and more so, they don't even have a vision about their own life and own future. Forget about visioning about a country that they can't even connect to. So my new India, my vision for the new India, beyond all the various political, economic, technological, wealth that we will be talking about, that we will like to beat China and others, my second vision about this new India is that how do we make first them happily connected or visioning about their own life, and then how do they have a shared belief and a shared vision about their country, and how do they connect to the country. So therefore, the freeness of reviewing the present, the shared view, feeling connected to the country, and therefore, as Martin Luther King said, I dream. So I dream of that country when the individuals will be able first to dream about their own life, and then they may start dreaming about their country, about the vision of a country. Now, I'm not a very ultra-patriotic person. I'm not really considering that India has to be the best, and you know Rabindranath's views also, the Ugro Jatiyatavad. I'm not really a very strong patriotic person, that I really need to think that India will beat everybody and be the best. I mean, there are interesting things about quotes from Bernard Shaw, Mark Twain on the ineffectivity of the patriotism. In fact, just Bernard Shaw once said that patriotism is the fundamental conviction that you have is that your country is the best because you were born in this country. And Mark Twain also said that a patriot is loyal to the country, but certainly loyal to the government when it deserves its loyalty. So I'm not really considering the patriotism part. I was also searching Mother, our Holy Mother's quotes on India, what she visualizes as India. Interestingly, I did not see a single comment that actually says anything about India, but what she said was all about humanity. Our views and our visions went beyond the borders of the India, and it was not a nationalistic view, it was not a patriotic view. What her view was more of humanity. So therefore, my India that I vision or that I imagine, my third point on that is that India that connects more to the humanity than getting into an competition of that I will have to make my India the best. So therefore, I need the freeness, I need the shared belief, I need the connectedness of all 140 crore of people to the country, and I now need that my India need not be the best, but my India should be the one who connects more to the humanity. I don't really care whether it is the India, but they actually connect to the entire world. Now, I studied the visionaries' views about the country. Of course, Swamiji, everybody here has studied Swamiji's views on the country, Ranganathanandaji. I went to Martin Luther King, Mandela, Roosevelt, Gandhi, Washington, Che Guevara, even to the extreme end, Fidel Castro. So I did a research on figuring out that how did they envision their country. Some were a country leader, some were not. Vivekananda was not a country leader. Ranganathanandaji was not a country leader, but a big thinker, a philosopher. Martin Luther King possibly was, Mandela was, Roosevelt was. Gandhi, by political position, was not, but was a country leader in some manner. George Washington was. But I figured out that the entire visioning exercise from all these noble leaders could be captured into 25 to 30 words. The words were liberty, fearlessness, spiritualism, education, inclusive, secular, no discrimination, democracy, nobility, dignity, courtesy, morality, livelihood, and likewise, general humanist principles. Like to quote, say, Martin Luther King, using words like, I want my country to come out of all manacles of segregation. I have a dream speech, that famous I have a dream speech. Chains of discrimination. Not to be in exile in his own land. Not to be in a lonely island of poverty in the vast oceans of prosperity. So all these things echoing around these 20, 30 words which I just mentioned. If we come down now, then we will also see, like if you take Narayan Murthy's views or some scientist views, then the views that will come may not be like these philosophical gospels or more on the characters, on the behaviors of the human being in that country, but more on that I want my country to the best in science, best in technology, best in medicine, and the books all on that will possibly be just towards that. Now, considering these various dimensions of this vision which we have, someone may at this point in time, standing in 2021, if we actually take those 30 words and all those things, may consider this philosophic sentimentalism, idealism, gospels, or such competitiveness as not exactly leading to a vision in a world which is real and palpable. The world is real and palpable. If I just come out and say that I want all of you to be spiritual, it's a very nice word, that I want my all countrymen to be very courageous, to be fearless, to have all the liberty, to come out of this. That it's a real and palpable word, because that just possibly at this point in time cannot just constitute a vision, because everybody will point out that yes, we have freedom. Everybody will point out that yes, we have democracy. But the difficulty of doing a visioning right now is that when things are not very conspicuous, when things are surrogate, when things are hidden, we all know there are certain things which are happening which possibly is not very conspicuous. And it's difficult to, at that time, to do an envisioning, because you just cannot presuppose that those things do not exist. Now, let me go back a little bit to the history of India. Now, we feel that 55,000 years ago, the first human being, or the first person, man or woman, whatever, came to India. It is a variation, there is a difference also, like somebody says 75,000 years ago. So in 55,000 to 75,000 years ago, the first person, human being, came to India. And after that, from the 1200 BCE, we had multiple languages. We had archaic Sanskrit, then we really went into a polyglot situation. Then from the 400 BCE, we had the caste systems coming in. We had the gender discrimination started to come in. Then we had the ancient, medieval, pre-modern, modern, all those kinds of histories of India. But we have seen the oligarchy, monarchs. We have seen the evolution of the Indus civilization, Vedic. From there, the Janapadas, the Mahajanapadas, little bit of urbanization. Then we had Alexander, Maurya, Sangam, Sunga, Satvahana, Kushas, Guptas, Chalukya, Kamrupa. Likewise, so many such oligarchies and monarchs and dynasties who came, who ruled either over India or parts of India. And then we had the Mughals, then we have the modern history of the British, and then we have our own republic coming in. Then we had. But when we move from these Janapadas to the Mahajanapadas to the urbanization also, and we have different such cults ruling parts of the country, they had democracy at that time also. In fact, one historian, Diodorus, says that India was the first country to have democracy. It was fractured, multiple cults ruling. There was no one single cohesive country, but within that, democracy still existed. And therefore, this country originated from such a diverse ethnicity, diverse history, diverse culture, diverse ruling pattern, but within small group, we have practiced democracy even from those ancient days. Now, if I do an analogy in a company also, in a conglomerate, when we do the visioning of a conglomerate, we also try to retain a distinctiveness of the various departments, a distinctiveness of the various products, a distinctiveness of the various styles and processes, because my company may actually also start acquiring, merging, and therefore maybe also trying to bring in people from various cultures coming in, as I have given an example for India also. But in the vision, we try to create a kind of distinctiveness also of those various divisions or the acquisitions that we do. But we still keep a common thread. We maintain the distinctiveness, but we keep a common thread of shared glory, pride, certain economical things also. But possibly we do not always try to submerge or subsume the distinctiveness and try to create one company with no individualities there. We don't possibly try to get into a majoritarianism in that way. Now, should we therefore try to make one India? Should we allow the distinctiveness to be retained? Should we allow a majoritarianism leading to an authoritarianism to create the new India? If you allow me to dream my own India, I will actually want all the distinctiveness to be given their due respect, to be given their due recognition, to be given their due identity, but one common thread which should be running across all these people, and that could be the common threads of basic human rights and values. Now, it's easier said than done. I'll come to a few political, economical framework of how we vision. So therefore, the point that I'm trying to make here is I give certain expectations from my new country in terms of fearlessness, shared thoughts, connectedness to the country, everybody, all 140 crores feeling I'm connected to the country, all 140 people having its own dream. I'm also saying that the distinctiveness, these various sects, creeds, religions, ethnicity, caste, which we may be having, not mentioning to any specific religion or anything like that, that should not be allowed to be lost. And therefore, a majoritarianism should not lead to any kind of authoritarianism. And therefore, a common thread has to be identified which will bind the country. That could be more on human rights and values, which comes with education, which I will soon touch upon, but not by trying to coalescing everything into one large mass. In a corporate kind of an environment, and that is also used for country as well. It was done by the Massachusetts Institute of Technology because it's such a large subject to visualize or to create a vision for a country. So we can go in every direction and ultimately we may not be able to conclude anything. So they actually identified a framework which is called, and anybody who is interested in that, they can also study it, called PESTEL, P-E-S-T-E-L. P stands for politics, E stands for economics, A is for social, T for technology, E for environment, and L for legal. I also tried to attempt to do a little bit of pastel analysis to do the visioning because I was not really knowing in which direction to go. And I must also quote here the Mark Twain because I'm a novice in all these 6 dimensions, and that to just make bring a little levity to the serious discussion we're having, let me quote Mark Twain. And Mark Twain once said that if you are a fool or you are ignorant on any subject, you can better stay silent. People may think you are a fool, but do not open your mouth to dispel all doubts about that. So possibly I am now going to do that, to open my mouth to dispel all doubts about that. So if we take the P view, the political view, the historiography's view about the Indian, is there are 4 streams that we have so far followed. One was the Cambridge view, the nationalist view, which is more from the Congress. And then there was a part, but we still are, a little bit of Marxist, social kind of political economy. And then there was recently in the 80s or late 80s, it came up, the subaltern view. So there were four, and very lately, which we have got in also a kind of an Hindutva view, which I personally really don't care for, so I will not touch upon that. So there was a Cambridge view, nationalist view, Marxist view, and the subaltern view that prevailed in terms of analyzing the Indian system, the political, social, and the economics. Now, we followed the British parliamentary system. Even Nelson Mandela also said that the British political institution as a country system of justice and law, he felt, is the best. Because that, by a system, really institutes the best democracy. Now, I'm not really making a complete departure from a parliamentary system here, because I'm not really trying to go that wild. But if you have to have certain systems and that, I think whatever we are following, and even that was echoed by Mr. Mandela, I think we are having a good system. This was the lengthiest constitution that we wrote. When Mr. Ambedkar and his team members, and I know that as I read in the history that there were 7 team members, but 5 of them actually ran away. It was Mr. Ambedkar who actually completed the whole exercise. He completed the lengthiest constitution in the world, which we have now today. It's the lengthiest one. He consulted 60 countries' constitution to bring to the Indian constitution. And thereafter, we had many amendments. So whatever that system that we have is definitely the best that I can see if we are trying to stay within a framework. I'm also not trying to get into whether we should be following Nehru's socialistic view, we should be getting into any kind of Marxist view, we should be getting into any kind of state-owned enterprises view, any capitalist view, mix of capitalist and socialist kind of view. I'm not getting into that, because those are all various policies. Leaders will come, leaders to the best of their knowledge and belief, they will try to think, and then they will be doing. And there could be pros and cons of everything, bad and good, of every methods that we actually pick up. There could be bad things of a socialistic view, bad things of a capitalistic view, there could be bad things about mixing the two up, so there could be many. But a few things which really needs to be absolutely fundamental. And that is what I feel and I dream of my new India. That is the freeness, the democracy, the synthesization, no forced secessionism, no forced annexation. I'm not getting into any kinds of disputed annexation which we're trying, or not getting into any kinds of disputed secessionist move that we are taking, but nothing of that sort. No subsuming or no coercion of any kinds of religion or class. Allow diversity, pamper diversities, pamper not any particular one in the diversity, but pamper the entire diversity. And therefore, my new India therefore feels whatever political system you actually may adopt, and I'm not requesting one to change the political system that is there, that 140 crore people will understand the true meaning of liberalism. The liberalism should not be a subject that is only discussed in the hall of the Institute of Culture, or in the halls of the educational institutes, or in the very intellectual debates. 140 crores of people should be taught to understand what is freeness, what is liberalism, up to what level can I actually go, what are my own rights. They should be understanding the democracy, they should be understanding what is inclusivity. Every woman in the country therefore should understand what is inclusivity. Every subaltern, every Dalit, everybody should understand what is a democratic right, what is the inclusivity right that I have. And my new India will therefore be envisaging a system which allows that. Now that's all again linked to the education, which I will come to that very soon. I remember a statement of Martin Luther King when he was making that speech. He made a very important statement which I think it's applicable for us also today. It's a precarious situation when somebody in a country has no vote. Possibly we have a situation like that, but may not be very profound. But the second one which he mentioned is, it's an even more precarious, is that when I do not have a cause to vote for, I just vote because I have been told to vote. And that could be one which could be one of a devastating peril even to us now, that does every person in that 140 crore have a cause to vote for? And that's what I feel is what as Maharaj was also telling, is the democracy, is the liberalization that we would really like to go for in whatever political framework we actually choose. Now, I would also say that there are always certain criticisms between these democratic principles of the country, whether we follow a democratic thing within our country, and we are also actually helping, if we are a strong democratic country, and we are wanting to uphold the principles of democracy, then in our international handling, foreign handling, economics or politics, are we also a proper safeguard of the democracies of the entire world? Now, if we are moved by the Israel-Palestinian situation, if we are moved by the Chinese Uyghur situation, if we are moved by the Afghan situation, if we are moved by the Myanmar Rohingya situation, now should we respect the sovereignty of that country, or we should uphold our democratic belief and therefore jump into that to ensure that oppression, suppression, undemocratic anything, I will not actually tolerate in any part of the world. International trade, the political framework, is a very subtle balancing of how much I will actually allow myself to be a conscience keeper of the world, and how much would we actually be wanting to just retain these principles within my own country. And you will see many of these differences that we may be having with an American bloc or with Soviet bloc is all related to how much penetration or intervention I will be doing in other countries matter. And that to a large extent decides the international situation and the international trading. It decides our border situation and all these things. But my country, my India, I feel there should not be any war. India should never be trying to stoke a patriotic feeling by having any kind of war. Everything I would feel in my country, the vision, the country that I dream, should actually be done through the diplomatic handling of that matter. To the principles of truth, to what extent I will be taking that to the principles of human values, discussions, justifications, and therefore taking an action based on that, but not through any kind of warfare, and not through any kind of stoking of the patriotism in the country by creating any kind of warlike situations also. And that's the country that I feel that India should actually be in my eyes. When I come down to the economics, the E dimension of the pastel thing, I mean, economics is another thing where Mark Twain said about that is lies, damn lies, and statistics. So, and in fact, one of our ex-government RBI governor also mentioned once that every country has an uncertainty about the future. The problem with India is that we have an uncertainty about our past also, because our data is all very kind of jumbled up and messed up, and our data is so wrong that he mentioned that even our past is also to a kind of questionable. But what in the economics I would actually be caring for, and the India that I'll be visioning is that some of the parameters that we are actually always throwing up, that the GDP is growing. Always in the newspaper and every discussion we will be saying a debate on the GDP's growth. You will be also seeing that so much of FDI coming into the country. And likewise there are certain other parameters, Sensex going up, FDI coming in, GDP, some of the economic parameters that India will definitely be boasting of. Few things in the economic that my own India will actually be, I will be more careful about is, I'm not really bothered about the GDP, I will want the GDP per capita. At what position is Indian GDP per capita? We are in one of the lowest 5 in the GDP per capita. And how can I actually keep on enhancing the GDP per capita? How do we bring in the predictability into the economic system of ours? More transparency and predictability. How do we reduce any kinds of abruptness? We know all kinds of abruptness that we have given to our economic as a shock, like various things that has happened in the past. How do we actually make our economic system much more sustainable, steady, and do not keep on testing its resilience continuously? I am not really of an opinion that creation of wealth is bad. In fact, a very interesting quote of Jawaharlal Nehru once told J.R.D. Tata. He said, "Jay, please do not utter the word profit to me. I will seek about the word profit." but we have come a long way from that. I'm not really against the creation of wealth. Wealth can be created abundantly in the country. But I'm of the opinion that the wealth should be legitimately, appropriately distributed also abundantly through a certain mechanism. And I personally do not envision in India where there is any kinds of doling out or welfare scheme. I do not actually feel that kind of subsidy or welfare scheme or doling out of the money, as we just keep on doling out the 100 rupees for everything, free gas, free this, actually make anything actually move or happen. I feel that the mechanism in the economics and the political, social economy all connected together should actually create, that will create wealth in abundance. It could be a capitalistic view, but there should be an appropriate, legitimate distribution of the wealth mechanism also commensurate to the productivity, skill of the people. And the productivity and the skill of the people will be a state's responsibility, will be the country's responsibility, which I will touch health and education a little later, that how I really give a platform in which you will be all allowed to have your protection of your own health and creation of the skill, and then the distribution of the wealth will happen based on the merit, the productivity, and the skill that you bring in. And I really personally I'm not against any kinds of creation of wealth. I also feel that more democratic decentralization should be better in my India. Not just a very centralized thing between the federated structure, between the center and the state. Please, this is not meaning to any particular government in force right now. It's applicable for any government. Today's government goes, a different party comes in, or even in the past. I would feel that more devolution, more decentralization to the states will help us in checking more channels to the distribution of the wealth, because it is difficult to have the distribution done appropriately if it is controlled completely to a large extent from a center. I also feel that sometimes a little bit of mix of authoritarianism and democracy. This is a view of Mr. Raghuram Rajan when he was asked to vision his India from an economic standpoint. He also felt that while we could be politically very strongly democratic, but in some of the economic steps, there could be a little bit of authoritarianism coming in at a developing stage. Because when a country has become completely developed, in every manner, then you can go for a complete democracy. But when it is actually going through the stages of formative stages, which he also brought in certain examples of the Asian economies, that how a proper mixture of a little authoritarianism and democracy actually have built them, as Maharaj also mentioned about the tigers in the economy, has built some of the Asian tigers. But having said so, the conclusion is that the economic system, I would really like to change some of the parameters to view. I would like to check the poverty parameter. I would like to check the unemployment parameter, the poverty index, the unemployment index, the GDP per capita, the women employment index. I will more be focused on those indexes than how much FDI is flowing in. I don't really care, because nobody cares about how much 400 trillion or billion US dollars we have stashed up in the RBI. That doesn't really create a wealth of the entire nation when the 140 crores of people really know that how will they be earning their own livelihood out of that $400 billion being stashed in RBI. Now, when I come to the technology, the T dimension of the pastel, when I come to technology, I have a little contrarian view. I know when we actually talk to some technologist, like if you talk to IT technologists or if you talk to some NASA, some scientists of the space, people will always say that in this digital world, India will be the supreme. Indian talents rules US, Indian talents rules Europe, Indian artificial intelligence, India will produce this, India will produce that, and all these things. Though we have not been really able to produce anything at all. We have not produced Google, we have not produced Microsoft, we have not produced IBM, but we keep on saying that India is the best in the whole world in technology. Having heard them, and to some extent possibly having agreed to their optimism also, my view on the technology is a little different at this point in time at what Indian vision should be looking like. I should say that technology should be only focused, and that is what I will be visioning on two areas. One is the technology for the human mortality enhancement and technology for the sustainability. I would want my technology to come in every aspects of the health. I would want technology to come in every aspects of the medicine. innovation, biotech, biopharma, improvement of the public health, eradication of infectious disease, pandemic, and improve the health condition of the country at every level dramatically by the infusion of appropriate research, science, and technology. I will really not care so much about the digitalization, artificial intelligence, robotics, and all those things as of now. Because when my healthcare, when the child mortality is so high rate in a country, when the mortality is so high in a country, when the nutrition situation is so poor, when the nourishment situation is so poor, I really don't care whether I am strong in artificial intelligence or in rocket science. I would want my technology to be completely channeled to the creation of a healthcare system appropriately. I would also therefore want my technology towards the environments, climate, soil erosion, biodiversity, replacement of the polluting materials, research to blend the past and the modern, the organic, pollution, carbon emission, all toxicities. That's where I would want my technology, my new India, at least as of now. Maybe 10 years later the vision could be changed to be more focused on. So therefore I would like to be a gigantic one in the medtech, in the medical technology. I would like to be a gigantic one in the sustainability of the world. I've just heard of the COPA and all this 26, the net zero, and I would really like to focus my entire technology on this. The low cost, high quality treatment. Low cost, high quality treatment, child health, everywhere. So research and application of technology in these two sectors is what, and I'm free to dream my own India, as Maharaj gave me that permission, so that's the India that I will be more dreaming of. Coming to the last dimension, the legal. The L, the pastel, legal. First thing is, I would not like to have a country where there will be any doubt in anyone's mind about the fairness of the justice system. I don't think everybody will be able to cross his heart and say that we have no doubt about the justice system in the country. I think there will be doubts in our mind, and that's the country that I first dream of, that there should not be any doubt in our mind about the neutrality of the justice system and the fairness. I'll just read out from you, how strong read out to you from the Article 38(1) and Article 39A of our Constitution. Just give me 2 minutes and lend me your ears to that. The state, which means the country, shall strive to promote the welfare of the people by securing and protecting as effectively as it may a social order in which justice, social, economic, political shall inform all the institutions of the national life. The state shall in particular strive to minimize the inequalities in income and endeavor to eliminate inequalities in status, facilities, opportunities, not only amongst the groups of people residing in different areas or engaged in different vocations. It also mentions, Article 39A, the states shall secure that the operation of the legal system promotes justice on a basis of equal opportunity and shall in particular provide free legal aid by suitable legislation or schemes or in any other way to ensure that opportunities for securing justice are not denied to any citizen by reason of economic or other disabilities. Now, what vision you need to have? It's already there, enshrined in our Article 38A and 39. It is just go and implement it. We need not have any other vision. Our Constitution is so powerful. Whatever I have said for the last 45 minutes is just captured into articles, clauses, 38A and 39. And therefore, that is what my vision, that it will be enacting all clauses of the Constitution and the law that we have, fairly, squarely, and with speed. Then we did not have any vision. That's the new India should be, and we should actually acknowledge all these things in spirit. It should not be just a compliance matter. We should try to acknowledge all these things in spirit. And that is when I said, and that is when Vivekananda's teaching also comes in, Swamiji's teachings comes in, is just a little bit of respect and love. If we can put in a portion, a dose of love and human values into this entire system of ours, we have nothing to really envision for, because it's already there in our Constitution. Education, my last point. I don't really want to demean any of the academic professionals out here, teachers, professors, and all them here, because they have really done a very good work. But just to quote Mark Twain again, because he was not a believer in the formal education system, and he also criticized. In fact, there are a lot of interesting quotes from Bernard Shaw also on that. He said, in the first place, God made idiots. That was for practice. Then they made the school board. That was what Mark Twain said. Now, honestly, if you allow me to be a little harsh, and if this institute gives me the amnesty of all kinds of protection for making such a free speech, I do really feel that the education system that we have today from primary to the higher is absolutely rotten. It has to be completely eradicated. This education system, it has to be a quality education with access to the education for every individual. Now, I don't really know whether Swamiji's philosophies of education one will adopt, whether Rabindranath's philosophy of education one will adopt, whether Plato's philosophy of education one will adopt, because I'm not an educationist. But only thing that I know is that this education system of ours is neither producing a proper soul, a proper human being who has a character, who has a personality, who knows how to distinguish between a truth and a lie, who has a proper self-dignity, a self-respect, which helps us to create judgment, which helps us to judge, assess. Neither does it produce a good engineer or a good doctor or any kinds of good profession. So the manufacturing in India, made in India that we are talking of, I mean, that will just remain a far cry if the quality of the engineering education that we are right now giving from the north to south. I'm an engineer and I take that with full conviction and responsibility, the quality of engineer that we will be producing. So neither on the character building side nor on the skill side, the present education system that we are having really is a successful one. Now, I don't care what we do here, but we have all kinds of policies. Like on paper, we have the national education policy which has come up. We are very perfect on those things. We will show that, look, this is what I have done to make education reach out to these people, that people, this kind of thing at low cost, so many institutes getting created and all that. But the fundamental thing that comes out means that maybe umpteen number of institutes at various levels getting created at every corner of the country. But the quality of the education that we are imparting there. What quality of education I'm really imparting there? And that needs to be severely criticized. And this is where I will really suggest that, or I will really say, I will request all the leaders to really for a while just to really make their personal likes, dislikes, egos, sentiments go down, and to allow the internationally acclaimed Indian educationists, intellectuals, scholars, thinkers, all to come, regardless of their political views and all that, and help us devising a proper education system from primary to the higher, to the highest level, to at every level. And I will request the political players to allow that, to really not their ego to come in the way of having the Nobel laureates or the others or all the educationists to come in and give their suggestions on what education system we will be having. Let them implement what this, and of course there could be a healthy debate between the political people who will be implementing the system with the theoretical educationist people or the intellectual people. There could be debate between them. There could be questions on the practicality of it. But I do strongly feel that the education system really needs to be completely questioned. And if we do not do that, then whatever we are talking about, from the democracy to the freeness to the liberty to the economic to the political system to the technology and all that, and then that actually is never possible. Because the health and the education in my newly envisioned country is the baseline that has to be given on which we actually can do the visioning of the new country. With this, I will conclude by saying that I really think a vision from me or for anyone else is not needed. There could be two things can be done. One, we just enable all acts and laws that we have in our constitution by spirit, and we can just enable it. And the second thing is, Maharaj, for the last 12 months, the leaders of the country have all spoken in all public forum the right words. If we can just take a pause, no envisioning required, just go and implement all the good words that they have stated in the last 12 months. I think this will be a prolific country. I mean, there is not a beautiful statement that you can think of which has not been stated by any or the other of the leader. So let us just go and implement that. And my last dream, which I've started with by saying, maybe to borrow the Martin Luther King quote, is that if you are giving me a dream, I have a dream that all should have a dream. Everyone in the country should be able to first dream about their life, and that's the dream that I have, that their education, their background, their economic situation will allow them to have a dream about their own life. And then there could be a dream for a country. Now, just to end, again, on a little humorous note, I mean, one of the, and Kaushik Babu also mentioned this, he felt that once when he has heard a long speech, he felt that I find that the biggest defect of a human anatomy, which God has been unkind to us on that, is He has given us an eyelid, because if I don't want to see something, I can close my eyes. He has not given us a ear lid, so that if I don't need to hear something, I can't close my ear. So that he mentioned is that after a long speech, when he has heard somebody giving a boring speech. So I end with that by saying that since you do not have an ear lead, you had to bear with me and show your patience in hearing me out. I thank you so much. And again, with my deference and respect to the Holy Mother, I end my visioning for India, my speech here. Thanks again. Namaskar.
Simply brilliant, to say the least. Ladies and gentlemen, we have just heard an illuminating, interesting, and well-researched talk, notable as it is for its erudition and as for its insight. Thank you very much, Sri Ambarish Dasgupta, for your intellectually stimulating talk. And when he started with a personal note, paying deep respects to his mentor, Swami Shuparnanandaji, and his deep devotion to Holy Mother. And then he goes on telling about his vision of New India that is based on three things. Number one, each Indian must have a dream. Each Indian must have a vision. Number two, each Indian must connect himself or herself to India as a whole, while he says not being ultra-patriotic. The third is India must connect to the world as well, to the humanity. And India's greatness, India's future depends on two things. Number one, democratic principles, and number two, secular principles. And while he refers to democratic principles, democracy in all aspects of life. And thus he ends with a great vision. But I think that we are not being pessimistic about the vision of an India. We have reasons to be very positive. We have reasons to feel that India will rise. Why so? The biggest democracy in the world. India is the home of the largest number of Hindus in the world, almost the second largest number of Muslims in the world, and crores of Christians, Buddhists, Jains, where people speak about 120 languages and use more than 1,600 dialects, where there are more than 1,300 political parties and even more than religious sects, and still India exists. That shows India's potentiality. We have reasons to be very hopeful of a great India emerging in future. Thank you very much. We also thank you, the audience. Thank you, Ambarish.
ঠিক আছে, অফ দি লাইন চায়নাতে কি এসব আছে? ওখানে বলবে অফ দি লাইন